Hey, Ethan here. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at Call of Duty United Offensive for the PC. It's the only expansion of Call of Duty 1. It's now time for development. Call of Duty United Offensive Expansion Pack was developed by the now defunct Grey Matter Studios and not Infinity Ward, but was released on September 14, 2004 only for the PC. It has 3 separate campaigns just like the base game: American, British, and Soviet campaign. And do keep in mind this game was made prior to the HD era, but I do know about the widescreen mods, but those seem unnatural to me, so everything is in 4:3 and recorded at the resolution of 1152 by 864 and at 60 FPS. And with that out of the way, let's talk about the story. The game starts out with the Americans. You play as the protagonist, Corporal Scott Riley. Sergeant Moody from the first game returns and tells us to go do a scan in the area. But the Germans attack, and then you are forced to fall back to your base on a jeep, shooting as many enemies with the machine gun on the back of the jeep. Once you return to your base, you finish off the mission by defending the area until reinforcements arrive. After that, it's nighttime. You meet up with another returning character, Captain Foley, and then go on patrol and then get ambushed several times, but eventually regain control of the area. Next, it's morning, and you have to rush out into the battlefield to take the town of Foy by having to snipe Germans with bazookas and cross a bridge along the way. After that, we enter a small town called Nouville in Belgium, and make our way through the town until we eventually reach a chateau and defend it while also escorting Sergeant Moody back towards the chateau and keep defending it until reinforcements arrive, and that is the American campaign. The British campaign is next. You play as the protagonist, Sergeant James Doyle, in the air on board a B-17 bomber over the Netherlands, and move between different gunner stations on the plane while German planes are trying to take you down, but eventually end up flying out of the plane after it explodes. After landing in a tree, German soldiers are scanning the area but are killed by the Dutch resistance. We are then introduced to a new character named Major Ingram and help them blow up a bridge and a train, and eventually end up escaping on the back of a stolen German truck. The next mission after that has us go to Sicily to blow up guns on a cliff, while blowing up a lighthouse, destroying radio equipment, and blowing up other explosives along the way, and end up getting chased on a motorcycle with Major Ingram and fully escape by exploding German PT bows, and that's the British campaign. The last campaign is the Russian or Soviet campaign. It starts out on the front lines of a battlefield, which then involves a lot of trench warfare, exploding tanks and defending a village until reinforcements arrive. After that, we go for a small town with a train station while exploding tanks and also taking over a factory at the end. The next mission is the only tank mission, and the only objective is to get to the end of the mission while exploding other tanks. The next mission brings us into the outskirts of Kharkov, causing us to use binoculars to help order airstrikes and to fight our way through the destroyed buildings and take out the remaining German soldiers. The last mission of the game brings us into the heart of Kharkov by having us grab engineers to blow up a destroyed train blocking our path, and by also using a German artillery gun to shoot down German Stukas. And the game ends at a big train station, causing us to blow up tanks and hide from Stukas until reinforcements arrive. And that is Call of Duty United Offensive's campaign. The main gameplay is basically the same as the base game, but brings new weapons and new to United Offensive, sprinting, among other little things. Yeah, this game has multiplayer too, but like I said in the original episode, it's hard to find a game nowadays or without it being password protected, so I can't really talk about it. But United Offensive did add new game modes, but you need a lot of people to properly experience those game modes. And that is Call of Duty United Offensive Expansion Pack. It adds very little to what the original game had, but it adds some really interesting missions and some nice quality of life improvements. It feels more like a COD 1.5 opposed to a real sequel. But I just have one last thing to say. This game is really hard.